being by myself doesn't really make me feel lonely. I feel like loneliness is something that's generally pretty alien to me. But I do often feel lonely when I'm with other people. Just, being around people and not being understood by them makes me feel lonely when just being by myself doesn't. And it also makes me worried, are other people like this, gonna be like this? How often does it happen that people misunderstand me in this way and I just didn't notice it? I've talked about, how I'm not sure if I'm really capable of being liked in a relationship. But I can be fine either way, whether I am or I'm not. I just want to know which. And I was wondering if that really got across. And I was thinking about an example is I have a cat. It's an outdoor cat. And I didn't see it for a while. And I kind of thought, it might have been dead. And for me, I guess just knowing that it was dead would have been something of a relief, because that's how I can think about it. I can accept it, and I can stop, having I go outside and I wonder, is my cat going to be there or is it not going to be there? If it's dead, I know, and I can start to accept that. And that's how I feel about, whether or not I'm capable of forming relationships with people. But anyway, I went out on an adventure on the internet and I made a post that people didn't really understand. And that was kind of okay, because either way I got some information. And a lot of my decisions I like to use, there's a term for it. It's kind of a meme term, a Xanatos Gambit. And basically that's, you try to plan things out so that even if things don't go according to your plan, even if things fail, you still get something out of it. And so I didn't quite get what I wanted out of my post, but I did get some information, and hopefully, I think that one thing that people often say that, they're confused by me is they can't tell when I'm joking and when I'm being serious. And I guess it might be helpful for me to say over here that there's actually not much of a distinction between the two for me. One of my particular interests are things like philosophy, which also deals with things like language and how you should understand and know things. Like, I'm particularly interested in something called semiotics, which is basically just talking about words and meaning. And I really like languages and linguistics. And also sacred texts, which are, texts that have a very particular way of being read. I think one of my favorite examples is, I guess this might be a bit hard to follow, but, in I guess what might be called the Torah or the Old Testament, there's this part where, they're talking about things that are sins, and it's being said that a person who has committed a sin can't proclaim a sin. But then they're talking about how plain text, well, this guy proclaiming the sin about, not sleeping with your father's wives or consorts, it seems to say in the text here that he got into this woman's bed or something like that. And no, it might look like he said that, but because, he can't proclaim sins like that, he was actually so mad that his father did this one sin that he flipped over this woman's bed. But despite how obvious it might seem, he did not actually sleep with that woman. And, I don't know if that was helpful, but generally speaking, for me, language doesn't really have exact meanings. It's just about getting your point across. For me, jokes are very rarely outright lies, but they're things expressed in a way that's going to be funny. Or, at least is meant to be funny, or is at least funny to me, or is at least clever in some way. I guess I can go ahead and start by giving some examples of things that I said on this channel. Like, I recently in a video said that I was fucked by a dog, and yeah, I kind of was. That's kind of a sudden, I guess, out-of-pocket thing. That might be kind of funny. I mean, a person might be worried about me if I said that, but it's I'm probably pretty fine, but it wasn't, the only thing that might be wrong about it is it paints an inaccurate picture. I was wearing clothes, but I was a kid at the time. But yeah, I was pretty well fucked by that dog. That did indeed happen. That was not something I made up. Or somebody recently told me, Jesus loves you. And my response, among other things, included saying, one of these days I'm going to go to the holy city of Jerusalem, and I'm going to get a degree in theology, and I'm going to teleport behind and karate kick anybody who tries to talk to me about God. And I'm not literally going to teleport behind people, and I wish I could teleport behind people and karate kick them, but it is a metaphorical way of expressing the fact that I am going to annihilate any Jehovah's Witness that tries to step up to me. Is boss music really going to play when I'm getting into religious debates with people? No, but it is an expression of how well prepared I am going to be for the said religious debates. I very, 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 very rarely pick up on it when people are hitting on me, but when I kind of get close, maybe, I'm not sure, my usual response is just to say that the person in question is hallucinating, or I am hallucinating, and that, it's supposed to be funny, but it's also not entirely a joke, and it's kind of a way of diffusing the situation and being okay, I have to say something here, and I don't want to fuck this up and be I wasn't, why would you think I meant that? So yeah, I'm just going to say, okay, I'm hallucinating. And then I don't really know where to go from here. So that's an example. Sometimes I say I am extremely confident, but also I have extreme social anxiety and cripplingly low self-esteem. And both of those statements are true. Usually when I start talking in a haughty, I'm the best, everybody absolutely loves me type of manner, that's usually some kind of joke, but at the same time, I do frequently express myself in that way. In some respects, I have really high self-esteem, and in some respects, I am, really, I guess, kind of outgoing and willing to tell people about things about myself. I also kind of really disassociate when I'm talking to people. I just kind of pretend that I'm talking to myself, and I don't think I totally register the fact that somebody is in fact listening to me when I speak. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that I just can't. I cannot talk about my feelings for people, and I do not, I once said here on the channel that there's usually a 6-month waiting period between me having feelings for a person and me being okay, I'm going to say something about this. That is in fact true, no cap. That is, I really do not. I can say pretty much anything else but that. That part of it is also just things that I feel it's okay not to say. I know it sometimes seems like I have no filter, but I do have a filter. It's just a very, very strange one. People frequently think that I'm a troll, and I'm not. I kind of hate being told that I'm trolling people, or at least, maybe for me, I understand trolling in a really different way. For me, trolling is just I'm just trying to make somebody mad. And that is, I don't like joking with things like that. And I don't I'm afraid of joking in a way that, if people are going to take me seriously, that might kind of really hurt their feelings. Or I hate playing with people's emotions, and I hate being thought of somebody as would do something like that. And so in general, if I'm making something that seems like a joke, but it might be playing with somebody's emotions, I would like to say that it's probably either a joke, or it's something that needs to be thought of in a different way. Another example, I guess, of a time that I was joking is I like to write poetry, and I sometimes submit it to submission. And I wrote this poetry about Knights of Camelot and stuff, or not? It was Camelot. And I guess the poem also had sort of a mock Christian feel to it, but I think that it was very, very hard to tell that it was kind of being satirical. And I submitted it to a satirical magazine, a very not Christian magazine. They're decadent poetry, stuff like Baudelaire and stuff. I sent it to that magazine, and I don't really get any feedback, but I imagine there's things why would you think that this is a good fit for this magazine, this Christian poem? And the fact that I'm sending it there and in that context, that to me would be would be a sign to take it as being a joke. When I'm doing something really odd, like when I flipped off a baby, then that to me is a sign of like, well, why would you flip off a baby? It should be a sign to take it as, okay, well, I'm using this gesture in a way that's not normal. Like if I flipped off a trash can, I'm not, meaning that in an angry way. I'm doing something odd, and it needs to be interpreted in an odd way. Well, once again, I have more time than I have footage, and I decided to help demonstrate that I'm going to read some of my favorite ancient Chinese texts. They're Zhuangzi, translated by Brook Ziporyn. Thus, the radiance of drift and doubt is the sage's only map. He deploys no single definition of what is right, but instead entrusts it to the everyday function of each thing. This is what was meant by using the illumination of the obvious. Now, I will try some words here about this, but I don't know if it belongs in the same category as this or not. For belonging in a category and not belonging in that category themselves form a single category. Being similar is so similar to being dissimilar, so there is finally no way to keep it different from that. Nevertheless, let me try to say it. There is a beginning. There is a not yet beginning, and there is a not yet beginning to be a beginning. There is a not yet beginning to not yet begin to be a beginning. There is existence. There is non-existence. There is a not yet beginning to be non-existence. There is a not yet beginning to not yet begin to be non-existence. Suddenly there is non-existence, but I do not yet know whether the existence of non-existence is ultimately existence or non-existence. Now I have said something, but I do not yet know. Has what I have said really said anything, or has it not really said anything? Nothing in the world is larger than the tip of a hair in autumn, and Mount Tai is small. No one lives longer than a dead child, and old Pengzu died an early death. Heaven and earth are born together with me, and the 10,000 things and I are one. But if we are all one, can there be anything to say, anything to refer to? But since I have already declared that we are one, can there be nothing to say, nothing to refer to? The one and the saying are already two. The two and the original unsaid one are three. Going on like this, even a skilled chronicler could not keep up with it, not to mention a lesser man. So even moving from non-existence to existence, we already arrive at three. How much more when we move from existence to existence? Rather than moving from anywhere to anywhere, then, let us just go along with thisness, relying on the rightness of whatever is before us as the present this. For courses have never had any sealed boundaries between them, and words have never had any constant range. It is by establishing definitions of what is this, what is right, that boundaries are made. Let me explain what I mean by boundaries. There are right and left, then there are roles and duties, then there are divisions and disputes, and then there are competitions and struggles. And this is the kind of thing they call the 8 virtues. As for the sage, he may admit that something exists beyond the 6 limits of the known world, but he does not make any further assessments about it. As for what is within the known world, he may assess it, but he will not express his own opinion. As for historical events, he will give an opinion, but not debate it. For wherever a division is made, something is left undivided. Wherever debate shows one of 2 alternatives to be right, something remains undistinguished and unshown. What is it? The sage hides it in his embrace, while the masses of people debate it, trying to demonstrate it to one another. Thus I say that demonstration by debate always leaves something unshown. The greatest course is thus always unproclaimed. Greatest argument is that which uses no words. Greatest human kindness is that which is neither human nor kind. Greatest integrity is that which declines nothing. Greatest courage is that which is unaggressive. For when the guidance of a course becomes explicit, when it becomes clearly and manifestly a course, it ceases to be the course. When words make an argument, they fail to reach everywhere. When human kindness is constant, it cannot be all-encompassing. When integrity is pure, it cannot be trusted. When courage is aggressive, it cannot reach completion. These 5 are rounded on all sides, but people are always trying to make them square.